Welcome. I am Fred Wellman, host of Online the VoteVets. You're in the right place. We're here Friday at 1 o'clock, every Friday at 1 o'clock now. As everybody gathers, I'd like to say hi. It's so good to see such a man, everybody's rushing in. Man, it's so good to see so many friends, supporters, veterans, and others. We have a really great show this week. And what you're going to see is how the decisions being made within the Department of Defense, within the VA, and within the nation as a whole are affecting veterans very directly in ways that we want to talk about. And so I'm really excited to share that with you. In the meantime, though, man, say hi in the chat. It's good to see you guys. Say hello. Hi, Ask. It's good to see you guys. Feel free to ask questions later. I can answer questions at the end of the show if you want to throw some questions in there. In the meantime, as everybody gathers, welcome. Let's kick off with the news, JJ. So the big thing the big thing happened this week is a lot of big things happened this week, but there's been a purge at DOD. Former spokesman John Ulyat, seen here looking very tan and scared. That's John Ulyat. John's pretty well known in our circles. He's been around for a while. He was at the VA last Trump cycle. He was asked to resign this week. A senior defense official told the Associated Press on Thursday, yet another one. He had been brought in. One of his big claims to fame right now is that Ulyat was the guy driving the DEI initiative to strip all the different DEI things from federal websites, DOD websites. That was his big mission. He's trying to frame it that he pretty much did that, so he's leaving. But you and I know people don't leave 82 days into an administration for other than reasons. Now, he's not alone. He is the fourth guy to get kicked out or resigned this week from what used to be Hegseth's inner circle. Three other senior officials were escorted from the building this week after being implicated in an ongoing investigation into leaks. Now, the leak we're talking about, it appears what they're doing is they're actually doing a purge of DOD because someone leaked that Elon Musk was going to get a classified briefing on China. Somebody told the New York Times about this. New York Times published it. Trump denied it. Hegseth denied it. But as we know now from further reporting, it was true. Pete Hegseth was planning on giving Elon Musk a top secret briefing on China and our China defense plans to a man who has massive business interests in China. And even Trump didn't want to get that briefing. Trump's the one who killed it, apparently, according to reporting. But apparently that's the leak they're pursuing, is that these gentlemen appeared to may have been the ones who said things. Now, on top of that, they even ran polygraph tests on some of these guys. So far this week, they've kicked out Colin Carroll, who's the chief of staff to the Deputy Defense Secretary, Stephen Feinberg, a guy named Darren Selnick, who was Hegseth's Deputy Chief of Staff, and a guy named Dan Caldwell, who was an aide to Hegseth. Now, do you know these names? You might know these names. These are guys who all served with Hegseth at Concerned Veterans of America, CVA, which was his big organization. A big part of their mission was trying to privatize the VA. That's where Hegseth cut his teeth, got fired from. But these guys have been his inner circle for absolute years, and they're all getting forced out now out of the DOD under Hegseth because of a leak. So it's really an interesting time to be in the DOD. I mean, imagine just trying to go to your job, you're getting polygraph tests because you may have emailed a reporter. Just a crazy time. Now, speaking of Hegseth and Hegseth's life, if you pay attention to DOD's social media, I'm not going to post a lot of these posts, and I don't know if we even grabbed any, JJ, but DOD's social media has turned into one long hype machine for how awesome Pete Hegseth is. Of course, the thing is, a recent poll came out from, I think, Quinnipiac, which said only 36% of voters even approve of the way Pete Hegseth is handling his job as Secretary of Defense, while 48% disapprove, okay? So he's underwater by a lot in his approval as the Secretary of Defense. But don't worry, they've turned the Pentagon's official social media accounts into one long DOD or SecDef hype account. Now, there's new accounts they've also set up called, DOD Rapid Response, okay? And this is being run by a guy named Graham Allen. Now, you may know that name. Graham has been a big vet bro podcaster. He ran for South Carolina Congress and dropped out for the election. Pretty well-known guy in vet bro circles. Nine Line Apparel loves him. He's like a sponsor for Nine Line Apparel. Graham's hardcore MAGA. He's a combat veteran. He was truck driver, but you wouldn't know that from his personal social media. He's a hardcore door kicking, gun shooting, rootin' tootin' tough guy, and he got hired to be the digital director for DOD. And that's where he is now. And it kind of focuses heavily on Secretary of Defense. I mean, every single day there's new pictures of him lifting weights or running with the special ops guys or doing PT. Just yesterday they had him doing PT with Tulsi Gabbard and Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer, who just rejoined the military. That's Graham. That's his official photo, I think, or one he posted online. I mean, that's Graham Allen for you right there, looking kind of mysterious. It is really disconcerting for those of us like me who are former public affairs officials. That's not how we do it in the military. In the military, you don't hype up the commander. You don't hype up his greatness. We don't do that in the military. It's about the mission. It's about sending out constant messaging. I actually ran the Army social media accounts when we first started them. And we know it's not our job to be the hype man for anybody but the actual Army itself and spread the news. Matter of fact, public affairs is trained. Military public affairs officials are trained, civilians and military alike, that their job is maximum information, minimum delay to the American people. We're actually required by regulation to put out information quickly and accurately. At least we were until January 5th or January 20th. Now it's all about Pete. And they've done things like attack the media. Heck, I got attacked by the Rapid Response because I dared question Signalgate. And that's what this thing is. It's being run by Graham Allen. So if you follow the DOD social media, it's quite a show. I recommend going over just for the entertainment value, saying hi. I'm always make sure to say hi to the guys on their Facebook page and let them know I'm seeing it. Probably going to lose my retirement account at some point, but nonetheless, I keep on pushing on. But it's really become a weird situation where the Department of Defense is the largest cabinet of the United States, the largest portion of our government, with 2 million service members and millions more deployed around the world, 3 weeks into bombing Yemen, and all they're posting is pictures of Pete Hegseth working out. It is quite a scene. Now, another one that gets really interesting is going to lead us right into our conversation with our guest, is this interesting story that the Air Force Academy this week, now there's a lot of work coming out of that, but the Air Force Academy dropped educate from their mission statement. They got a new mission statement, and it focuses on winning wars. The statement was posted recently on the Academy's website, and the new mission is to forge leaders of character motivated to a lifetime of service and develop and lead our Air Force and Space Force as we fight and win our nation's war. An Academy spokesman said the statement reflects the priorities outlined by President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to develop warrior leaders to prepare to lead war fighters, because warrior. Let me give you a little clue, just what we're talking about when we talk about the Air Force Academy. The Air Force Academy right now, as we speak, is rated as the #2 public college in the United States of America. A military academy is the #2 public college. And all 3 service academies fall in the top 10. I think West Point's #1, my alma mater. But they've decided that's not a priority. It's in a lot of ways, the previous mission statement was, quote, and directly, to educate, train, and inspire men and women to become officers of character, motivated to lead the U.S. Air Force and Space Force in service to our nation. The older mission statement is very much like the one we had at West Point. Because I don't know, little known fact, the Air Force Academy is an outshoot of West Point. They sent West Point faculty to Colorado Springs when they decided to set it up in the 50s. I have a cousin that was one of them. And so a lot of the Air Force Academy is sort of where they were born, was out of the West Point curriculum and history and traditions. Currently, as I mentioned, it's the #2 school in the United States, but there's rumors and there's quite a bit of threads and there's a lot of internet rumors going around, and they seem pretty well fact-checked, that the Air Force Academy is going to cut as many as 340 civilian faculty members. They're going to cut many degree programs down to a general studies degree. Allegedly, they're planning right now to try and cut as much faculty as they can, only to maintain their minimum accreditation level. Not to be a top school in the country, but minimum accreditation is their goal. And then there are rumors of a huge number of dropouts. So for those you don't know, civilians, you've never served, the way it works with the military is you can, up until the start of your 3rd year, your junior year, if you will, college year, everybody calls it different names, cloud, but up until the first day of classes of your junior year, you can drop out of the military academies without incurring a military obligation. You can transfer to another school, but once you go to class that first day of your junior year, you're obligated to serve in the military if you fail out or resign. There's a lot of rumors flying that all the service academies are having an outpouring of second-year students leaving first and second year students, with all the changes being made. If you remember the conversation we had probably 2 months ago, when they canceled all of the diverse clubs at West Point, the culture club, the black club, the Latino club, they canceled all of them. And because they were, quote, DEI. Matter of fact, the Black Culture Club had existed for over 55 years. And they canceled it because it was, quote, DEI now. Of course, the Catholic Club got to stay. So a lot of cadets are going to start walking with their feet. And we kind of predicted this. And they're going to try and deny it, but that's what we see coming. But it leads to this last one. And this last statement is concerning because they've done this in two places. We got news reports last week that the Naval Academy had been banning books, that they removed a host of books from their library and were banning them. But obviously enough, of course, Mein Kampf remains, but they got rid of like Maya Angelou's biography and others in the Naval Academy. Well, now they're also doing the same thing in civilian schools. So a group of DODEA students, Department of Defense Education Agency, are actually suing the United States government with a little bit American Civil Liberties Union is joining them to sue the Department of Defense Tuesday over book bans and curriculum changes instituted in recent weeks to comply with Donald Trump's efforts to root out DEI. The lawsuit was filed in federal court in the Eastern District, Virginia, and states that moves by DOD or DOD education activity have unnecessarily harmed learning opportunities for students. Case involves 12 students from 6 families who attend military-run schools in Virginia, Kentucky, Italy, and Japan. Since January, the department school system, which encompasses 161 schools, 161 schools across 11 countries, including multiple sites in the United States, has begun removing books and changing classroom curricula related to gender ideology or divisive equity ideology. I think we've got a video, JJ. Show that video.
I was talking to my friend in Ohio and realized a lot of Americans don't know that this is happening in Germany. Hundreds of students at multiple U.S. military bases in Germany have been walking out in protest of the Trump administration's cuts to DEI programs, books, and clubs. Thousands of American kids go to on-base schools worldwide because their parents are members of or work for the military.
Pride Club, Black Student Union, Asian Heritage, and Hispanic Heritage Club all taken away.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says it is unity and purpose that is the military strength and not diversity. But these students disagree.
The Women's Empowerment Club had to change to the Student Empowerment Club, which is important, but that changes the message. I might be all the way on a different continent on the other side of the world from America, where these policies are being put in place, but they still affect me. They affect us.
What do you think of their protests?
I think they're smart kids, is what I think. And the point is, this is an effort because the military, which the thing that makes me cringe every time I hear it, and I know our guest is going to think the same thing, is they're purging this because of the DEI, because diversity is not our strength, according to Pete Hegseth, which is a comment that makes my fucking neck tingle, okay, and it makes me cringe because no, diversity is the strength of the military. Representing the United States of America is the strength of the United States military. It's an all-volunteer force. But the thing is, those kids aren't in the military, okay? Those kids have to go to DODEA schools in Italy and Japan because there's no other school for them to go to. So we're taking kids who are forced to go to what is basically our public schools, okay? Our public schools, and they're forcing them, they're making them put up with curriculum being stripped, programs being changed, clubs being taken away, books being banned in their library because of this, frankly, Christian nationalist agenda of the Secretary of Defense, which has nothing to do with these kids who are just kids, okay? It's like Moms for Liberty took over federal schools. And that's where we sit today. So I want to bring in our first guest who's got a unique perspective on these last two stories in two ways. Number one, he's a graduate of the United States Naval Academy, served in the Marine Corps as infantryman, still serves in the reserves, and he's mayor of a town in Virginia. So he also knows about schools. So let me welcome Mayor Phillip Jones. Phillip, it's great to see you. You are the 27th mayor of Newport News, Virginia, city's youngest directly elected mayor. You served in the Marine Corps. You went to the Naval Academy, done for cool stuff. You went to that place, Harvard, which I can say because I do too, which is suddenly cool. So Mayor, welcome to the show. Oh, you're muted. There you go. Welcome to have you.
Fred, just thanks so much for the opportunity. It's been a time. So I'm actually in DC. I went to the White House yesterday, really to talk about shipbuilding. So all things national security, shipbuilding remains top of mind for me. So, while I'm up here, we get the reports weeks ago about the Naval Academy, my alma mater. And let me
Yeah.
take it a step further. My mom and dad are both Air Force Academy graduates. So as you're talking about the academies under attacks, not only are my mom and dad Air Force Academy graduates, my mother was the third class of women to finish the Air Force Academy. So all of these things are top of mind, and looking forward to the discussion today.
God, you make me feel old though, Phil, because the first class of women was about 3 or 4 years ahead of me at the military. So anyway, well, we're just going to date me. So there. It's good to see you, son. It was great, Phil. We met last year during our veterans bus tour. I think we hung out in your beautiful town, and it's great to see you again. Let's start with the Naval Academy. I mean, you got to be horrified when you're hearing about book bans at the Naval Academy. I think what frustrates me is it's almost like they're treating your academy and all the academy and mine. I'm a West Point grad, full disclosure. And we lost the football game this year, but let's not go down there, bro. Anyway, but they're educational institutions. They're colleges. That's what they were founded to do. They're being treated sort of like 4-year OCSs at this point, aren't they?
When I look at the Naval Academy, it's from knowledge, sea power. That's our motto. And our sort of mission is to educate leaders who are going to make a difference, whether it's command, government, or citizenship. So we have a very unique mission, all of the service academies. And it hurts my heart to see that they are becoming political. Some of the books that were removed are very, very targeted, to include some books surrounding the Holocaust and certain events. So I'm not sure what we are trying to accomplish, but I do know that ultimately it is going to hurt the warfighter who's at the tip of the spear.
And that's the thing. That's what we keep hearing about. Warfighter, warrior, warfighter. But that's the point. The 4-year education that the different services give at the military academies, to include Coast Guard, to include Merchant Marine, there's a point that 4-year system that develops leaders of character. And we have ROTC, which is also a 4-year program, by the way, not as intense. But the mix of these kind of officers is what makes our services so strong. And then, of course, we see, as I heard the other story, is that we're taking education out of the mission statement of the Air Force Academy. Are you hearing rumors of similar kind of cuts to the Naval Academy? I know they have a lot of civilian instructors as well, don't they?
Yeah, I've heard rumors. Nothing's been sort of through mayor channels or through the alumni channels, nothing official. But if it's going to happen at USAFA, as my parents always call it, it's only a matter of time before it moves from Colorado all the way to the East Coast. And it is a very slippery slope. The way that I describe my time at the Naval Academy is it is your combination of Sparta and Athens, right? You get the best of both worlds. And I tell everyone, I love the academy because it gives you 4 years to really hone your leadership skills, but also it's still a civilian education. I think once you make it too militarized, I have concerns about not the quality of officers, but what we're going to prioritize. I think let me rephrase, being a Marine Corps infantry officer was the highest honor of my life, and the Naval Academy prepared me for that.
Yeah, and that is the goal of these military academies. There and also produce leaders of character,
Exactly.
well-educated leaders of character who are interacting with the civilian world through their educations. I mean, I think the idea of stripping them down to just being about war fighting the warrior, and I think it was probably for me too. And you're a Marine. You guys are the very tip of the spear, but the Air Force does a lot of deterrence. I mean, they're not, they do, the Berlin airlift was highlighted on there. And that goes to the next piece of the comment I really want to get your opinion on, is we do know that we're pulling, this DEI purge. They pulled the books out of the Naval Academy's library. We know they got rid of the clubs. I mean, you're a black veteran. I mean, does it horrify you to think that basically the history that has led you here has attracted so many of our young Americans that come to the service academy is being erased, and we're going to pay a price for that, aren't we?
I mean, when I look back through the storied histories, it's not only of my parents, but of my grandfathers who both served. But I think about the Harlem Hellfighters. I think about the Montford Point Marines. Think about just the history that we have of service, of serving our country. And sometimes during a country where it's Vietnam and you come back and people are yelling at you, or you fight for your country and you come back and you're still a second-class citizen. So just sort of this erasure of history. Like whenever you're on the side that's banning books, you probably should take a look in the mirror. I mean, the whole point, I think, of a 4-year education, a military education, is to look at different viewpoints. And to be honest, as someone that still has a lot of mentors at the Naval Academy in West Point, they're hurting right now. They really are.
Yeah. And what are you hearing from those folks?
So it hurts my heart to say, but they feel like they made a commitment. A lot of them have already signed their 2-for-7, which is,
Yeah.
you sign that in the beginning of your junior
Yeah.
year. And they're like, we're going to sort of serve our country. We made this dedication, but it feels like our leaders have abandoned us. And listen, as an infantry officer, I'm all for lethality, right? I'm all for
Yeah. That's
like
your thing. Yeah.
the thing that we always said in the Corps is like the mission of the Marine Corps infantry is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire maneuver. That is lethality. You are still able to have a midshipman black study club or different groups. That DUI does not hurt us. In fact, I would say it makes us stronger.
Right, absolutely. Because if you're able to find community, you're able to face strong. I mean, a lot of these clubs, a lot of these programs, the library, these are places to find refuge, and because it's a very difficult environment. I mean, it's easy to dismiss this, but the military academies are very rigorous programs. It's especially your freshman, your plebe year, you don't get to leave the academy hardly at all. I mean, all these systems are built on for a reason. They're to welcome people, to make them feel like they belong to something. It's just like you would as a civilian, and it's no different. But the mission still is to train leaders of excellence and get them built. And if they're dropping out for any reason, we're undermining that entire goal, aren't we?
It's the whole point. I have concerns about our task organization as a military, whether it's active reserve or inactive ready reserve. There are a lot of things happening in the national security apparatus, and we have to be prepared. And if I could spin a little bit, as the mayor of Newport News, I am pro America. I am pro shipbuilding. As you look at great power conflict, which I know is the sort of new buzzword, you are only going to build more ships in Newport News. That's aircraft carriers, that's submarines, that's Virginia and Columbia class. Lethality is top of mind as mayor and as someone that still serves in the reserves, but there are different ways to achieve that.
Yeah. I mean, let's go to your mayor job. Let's put that hat on for a second. If you heard of somebody trying to come in and ban books like these books in your own schools, I think you'd have a few words, wouldn't you?
I always think about like to what is the goal, right? I think Fred, right? You're like everyone who's listening, we're all smart. What is the goal?
Let's not get carried away. What's I don't think I am. I was in the top 2/3 of my class.
Me too. I barely snuck in. But it's, what is the commander's intent? What are you trying to achieve? And more importantly, what message do you send to people that are about to commission, right?
Right.
People that are going to apply to the Naval Academy. I love my alma mater. I love that place. It has completely changed my life. I got married a year ago. 90% of my groomsmen are my academy classmates. So I love that place. And to see us go down this path, it sickens me. It really does.
I'm curious too. One of the things I find striking about your story is you're the classic military story. Your parents were military, Air Force Academy. I know you let them down by going to the Naval Academy. It's sad. I'm sure they're embarrassed about that to this day. But having said that, the story of the military is family generational service, right? My father was a World War II veteran. My grandpa was a World War I veteran. I have ancestors that go all the way back to the freaking Revolutionary War. My son served in the 82nd Airborne. It is a family business. You are a perfect example of that. So I'm troubled when I circle back as a brat originally, and then a service member. As you see the schools being attacked overseas. I don't know if you ever attended any DODEA schools as your kid. I mean, one of my concerns I have is, will these kids want to serve in a military that took books out of their libraries or banned their clubs?
No, so it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine. His kid is 16, 17, 18, and is thinking about joining the military. And this is the first time in my life, and I hate to say this, it's the first time where I just said a word of caution. Right before, the military changed my life. I think everyone should serve in some capacity and to give back. But I'm 35. This is the first time ever that I said, you know what? Let's just do a word of caution and think about. Tell me, what is he trying to achieve? I never felt this in my entire life. And it's, as a veteran and someone who's still serving, it hurts my heart. It really does.
Yeah, it really is a difference. Even the first Trump administration, I did still recommend to kids to go to the military academies. I helped recruit for the military academy. I was proud to. My own kid went in. My son-in-law still serves. But I'm in the same boat. I find myself in the precarious situation of not recommended as a career choice right now, as we do see blatant and open discrimination, as we do see this kind of dismantling of what makes our service members morale and their duty and the kind of missions they're being put on. So back to Newport News. Obviously, you guys are in the middle of it. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, you've got a lot of military. You've got probably one of the largest concentration of service members in your town, don't you?
Yeah, no. So all of Hampton Roads, I think we always battle with San Diego, but we're top two in terms of military retirees. That my area is basically 3 congressional districts. So it's the number 1 congressional district for military. So whether it's a combination of the federal job cuts, because obviously it's the contracting around it, whether it's shipbuilding or active duty or retired military, we're going to feel a lot, whether it's more than just tariffs. We feel it here in Hampton Roads, and we are on the front line. And the one thing that I would say is like going well for us has been this push towards shipbuilding, right? Like that's the one sort of saving grace. But look, we can build the world's best ships. Who's going to be on them?
Right. We need incredibly smart people doing that. You know, we need incredibly well-trained people. We need their children to serve, because, you know, the old thing we say in the military, and I'm sure our viewers have heard this from me probably every week, is that we recruit the service member, but we retain the family, right?
Exactly.
And the 2 stories we just had, both the Naval Academy issues and the Air Force Academy issues, and of course now the book bans and the attacks on the DODEA schools, it's going to be very hard to retain. I think I'm sure that's what you feel there, because you've got a lot of senior service members, a lot of senior Navy leaders in your region. They're going to have to make a decision at some point of staying or going. And if their families are being treated poor, they're going to go, aren't they?
100%. And I think, you know, like the military service is cyclical in terms of history, where we do a big drawdown and then it's like, all right, now there's a war. Now we have to plus up people. And so I call it, think of it as a supply chain bullwhip effect. Like if you go up and down, up and down, up and down, that just adds more chaos and turbulence. And I can tell you the times that we're currently in, we don't need turbulence. We just need a stable hand. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and we need somebody stable. The mayor, tell us. Thanks for joining. I know you're between meetings, so you're in DC. You're all dressed up. I'm wearing a t-shirt. You're in a suit, but we appreciate your formality. So where can people find you? I see your. Where can we find out more about what you guys are doing in Newport News? A great place to live and follow you.
Yeah. So first of all, I highly recommend anyone to come to Newport News. Great city. I love it. It's a sort of a hidden gem, 2.5 hours south of DC. Mayor Phillip Jones on most of my channels, but find me on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. More importantly, just find me out in the community talking about all the good things that we have to offer Newport News. And the last thing I would say, Fred, always good to see you. But to all the listeners, we need you in the fight. We need people in the arena. That's the only way that we're going to be able to continue this thing that we call democracy. So Fred, I always appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man. Good luck to you. Keep it the fight. Congratulations, Newport News. Good to have you.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you. It's great. Mayor Jones is fantastic. He welcomed us to Newport News last year in the fall. We were on our bus tour around the country. It is a beautiful town. My own daughter went to school there for a while at the Christopher Newport University. So I highly recommend it visiting if you're in that area of Virginia along the coast there. But that does serve you. You heard him mention tariffs. Now, the next conversation I want to have, and you're going to say to yourself probably, why does VoteVets care about tariffs? Well, that's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, and I'll open you up why. One of the biggest issues we frame this conversation with our next guest is, there are approximately 2 million veteran-owned businesses in the United States today. Shocking, that represents about 9.1% of all U.S. businesses. Now, for those who keep track, veterans make up about 6% or less of the population today. Those who can be able to serve today, you hear 1% a lot. Those are people who can actually serve in the United States military or do serve in the United States military. But because of the aging population of the U.S. veterans, we're only about 6% of the national population, and yet we own 9.1% and employ 5 million Americans while generating $1 trillion in annual receipts in business. So when you talk about business changes, when you talk about things that impact small business, those affect veterans in a very, very direct way. Just like when they talk about firing veterans from the federal government, when 30% of the federal government are veterans, many of them, you're talking about firing a lot of veterans. So we like to bring these issues to you. We got the perfect person. I'm joined by Beth Benike. Beth is an Army combat veteran from Southern Minnesota. She grew up in a family of small business owners, and of course, she served in the Army, served in Iraq. Beth, join us. Glad to have you.
Hey. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
it's
me.
great to see you. Yeah, Beth was backstage this whole time, guys, working because she's a CEO, and we appreciate joining. As I mentioned, you own a company called Busy Baby, and of course, the tariffs have been directly affecting. You've made quite a bit of news, so we're lucky to get you. You're all over the place, New York Times, everywhere else. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about Busy Baby and your business.
Yeah, I was in the Army for 10 years. And as any veteran knows, it's kind of hard to have a healthy relationship sometimes if you're in the military. So I didn't start a family until later in life.
Yeah.
I had my first baby when I was 40. And after I had my son, I came up with an idea for a baby product that solves a problem all new parents have, which is babies dropping and throwing all their stuff on the ground. And it's a really simple solution. It's a silicone placemat. It suctions to their high chair, and then it has tethers that you can use to attach the toys. I came up with the idea. I got to go on Shark Tank. My brother, who was also in the military with me, we deployed together to Kuwait and Iraq, quit his job and joined me in the company. And together we've expanded the product line to 8 products, all with the same mission to keep things off the floor, within reach, at home, and on the go.
Wow. Which, as any parent who's watched this knows how hard that is.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. And obviously you get a lot of these products made in China. Why China? I mean, I'm sure people say, well, you should have got it made in America. No, you've got an explicit reason why you had to go to China, right?
I do. I mean, there's a number of reasons, but I will say we spent 18 months trying to figure out how to make it here in Minnesota. Not only did I want to make it in the USA, I wanted to make it in Minnesota. I love my state. And we had a factory in Minnesota work very hard to come up with a chemical solution to create a raw material, because the first problem is the raw material does not exist in the US. It has to be sourced from overseas.
Okay.
So at that time, importing the raw material was like the same cost as importing the finished product and packaging. So it didn't make sense, just the raw material alone. And I'm going to talk about this because this is affecting American manufacturers now, because they still have to import the raw material,
right?
Which is now tariffed. The other reason is, as a small startup, I did not have the budget to do production runs of 20,000 units. So factories that exist in the States have to do very large production runs for their clients. And I was on the phone with the factory this morning. They require like a $2 million minimum commitment per year from their clients in production, which we're not even close to that. And there's good reason for it. One, the raw material is expensive. They have to order in bulk to get the pricing down. 2, they have to keep the machines running. So if you are doing small runs and you have to disassemble the equipment, clean it, reassemble for the next product, you have a lot of downtime. When you're a factory and you have downtime, you're not making any money. Right. So there's a lot of reasons that manufacturers in the US need to have high production run minimum order quantities. For us in China, we had very low minimum order quantities. And so it was just more feasible. I mean, it was the only way for us to start with the production of a product that hadn't yet existed within our, I was bootstrapping. I was working a full-time job and like doing pitch competitions and borrowing money from my stepdad to do this. That was the only way I could start. Yeah. So that's how it kind of started.
Yeah. And so let's fast forward today. You wake up, you've got an order sitting in China right now, right? How big was that order you've got sitting in China right now?
The value of the product is $158,000 worth of product ready to ship.
Okay, I'm not a math guy, but it's the 125% tariff. Woo.
145, Fred.
145.
Maybe 245. It's not clear because the policy changes every 36 hours and it's really not clear exactly. I saw 245, but I don't think that's right. So I'm going to stick with 145. That's $229,000 in tariffs.
Okay.
And I have to come up with
that. I got to repeat that. 229,000, and that's you got to pay that right now, right? It's like
you pay it as soon as you hit the border. So when I was set to have my products picked up April 7th and depart the port in China on April 10th, 11th. So I would have 30 to 40 days to come up with that money because otherwise it doesn't come through customs. So I had to halt. I had to stop. I said, do not load the container because there's zero way I can do that. Zero chance of that. I mean, even now we've started a GoFundMe and there's so many generous, supportive people out there, but we're still nowhere near having enough.
Yeah. And that'll be one shipment. How long does a shipment like that last? Like how much product is that for you? What's the timeline associated with that out of curiosity?
3 months. That was our summer.
Okay.
It was our summer inventory that was coming in. And then right now we should be starting production of our Q4. Q4 is the biggest time of year for us, gift giving season.
Sure.
And we need to start production now so that we can get that product here in time for Christmas. But we can't start production on that. Like,
no.
But we need to.
So you're not alone in this. I mean, you've been, I know you've been in a lot of, you've been very brave. You've stepped out. We appreciate that, especially, it's classic veteran thing, Army vet. Are you hearing from other like veteran-owned business owners? I mean, I imagine you're not alone in this thing, are you? Because you mentioned the pre-show, by the way, the conversation we had about IVMF, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. A former client of mine on my old job. I'm a big fan. Matter of fact, it's funny. I went to that Veteran Edge conference and went right before the pandemic. So I've been there. So you did go to some conferences recently for other veteran entrepreneurs. Are you hearing similar things from other veterans?
Yeah, I mean, at that conference was right after a lot of the cuts were made, and so a lot of the people who attend the conference are contractors and do work with the government, and now the tariffs not affecting them in the way that the cuts are, because now they're losing all of their contracts because there's no certainty.
Right.
And so at that conference, I mean, we were all nervous. Tariffs hadn't even started yet, but I felt the pain of the rest of these veteran-owned businesses, service businesses, because most of them work through government contracts and they already were being affected. Now I was like, oh, thank God, like that I'm not being affected like that. A couple weeks later, I get slammed with tariffs, and now.
Yeah, I had a friend who had 5 contracts at the VA, and that first cut, they lost all 5 of their contracts, basically out of business in a day. Like they got an email. It was like and then they came back, and VA gave them 6 hours. I think they sent an email, and the CEO had 6 hours to justify his contracts in an email back to VA. It was a veteran, a well-known veteran, by the way. Like you'd recognize him. I won't name him for his privacy, but a very well-known veteran, and a wounded warrior, lost a leg in combat, and his company was all but done for about a day or two there. I think he clawed back 1 or 2 of the contracts, but just shocking. I mean, your business is just gone in the swath of pen to save a couple of bucks, but now it does. So the tariffs are affecting you very well. So what's the path ahead for you, Beth? I mean, I'm sure. Can't be easy.
No, I mean, I recently got awarded contracts with Walmart and Target, which is huge for my small business.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's really big. To
get into those retailers, it took us years, and it's huge for us. And so fortunately, I did get all the inventory I need for this year for both those retailers. It's here in my warehouse, so I'm not worried about this year. But Walmart wanted to expand our selection to include another product. And I had to have a tough call with them and say that I can't support that right now. And I don't know if I'll even be able to stay in your store. It just depends on what happens. Because when I run out of this inventory I have right now in my warehouse in about a month or so, I have no more revenue. And to get that product for Walmart and Target, I had to get a new loan. And that's a risk I took knowingly as a business owner. And we all do. And we all know it's a big risk when you go into big box retail because it could crush you. But I had to leverage my house against that loan. So now we're talking, I have maybe a month or 2 months here of runway, and then I have more revenue, and I cannot pay my employees. I cannot pay my loans, which means I might lose my house. Fortunately, I work with a small town bank who's amazing, and we're working together to make that not be my fate. And so my son found me on the kitchen floor crying last week because I was feeling so overwhelmed by everything. And when he came in and gave me a hug, he's 8 years old, I realized I'm not teaching my kids this shit. I'm not teaching my kids that we sit down and cry. We're going to adapt. We're going to overcome. We're going to find a way around this. So now I have a strategy that my brother and I are going to put together tomorrow, which is global distribution. I have gotten so much outreach from other countries who think my product is brilliant. So I have looked into manufacturing in the US. I've looked into it this week. I was on the phone with a factory in Texas this morning because if that's the goal, if that is the goal of this, let me look into it. Let me do my due diligence. It is still entirely out of reach. That's the company I said told me we'd have to commit to $2 million in production at a minimum to start. I don't blame them. I understand the reasons why. And even if they did, take pity on me and want to help me out, the process and the time it takes to make new molds, the tools that actually make the
Yeah.
product, is very expensive. And I don't have that much time. I only have a month worth of product here. I'll be out of business, and I don't have the money it takes to make those molds. But I don't even believe anymore that this is about bringing manufacturing back to the US. And Sunday, when the announcement came out that there would be no more tariffs on cell phones and computers, Lenovo is the third biggest computer seller in the United States, and they are a Chinese-owned brand. They do $53 billion in sales in the US. They don't have to pay a tariff to bring their products in and take our American money. I do, though. I can't even get my products here and stay in business, but a Chinese-owned computer company, come on in. We'll sell you. We'll buy all your stuff.
Right.
You don't have to pay tariffs.
Right. And they're penalizing the American version. But because the American companies are making stuff here, they're still importing their pieces from overseas. So they're going to pay tariffs. But the foreign companies they're shipping finished products are getting a break. It has nothing to do with America first or helping anybody.
It doesn't feel like it.
No, it doesn't. Man, I don't know what to tell you. You've been out there in front of this, and you got good plans. Yep. But it does sound like that last portion you just said there. What they're instead doing is, and this is the fear I had a guest on another one of my shows where we used to talk about the fact in 3.5 years, 4 years is plenty of time for people, even like you in American business, to find other markets, right? Like you can ship from China to England. You can ship from China to Japan and sell your product there just as easier than you could now in your home country. In many ways, they're forcing American businesses, even in foreign businesses, especially, of course, they can find plenty of other allies to actually go global and not support the United States constantly. It's a shocking twist, isn't it, for a veteran, aren't you?
When I went on Shark Tank, and that was 4 years ago, one of the goals was I wanted to get Mr. Wonderful to help me expand internationally, because I knew that was bigger than I could do. So silver lining of this show is I'm forced to do it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have a global brand by the end of this year. So we'll just take this turd and shine it up, and
it's what we do. It is the nature of the beast. I'm an old hunter first guy, so I get it. You land, you've got no weapon, you got no gear, but you still have a mission to do. So we dust ourselves off. Yeah, and there's that moment of fear. I know you've been going through it. I've watched your arc because you've been, you've had a number of interviews. I've watched them all. The arc you've gone through to reach this point is heroic and appreciative. And I mean, I guess the final thing it's a great time. I mean, this is why I always loved working with veteran-owned businesses, because that's how it is. It's like, all right, well, that sucked. What's the plan, right? And we do approach things differently, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. And I'll be in DC, ironically, 2 weeks before the tariff was announced. I received a Small Business Person of the Year award from the SBA. So I'm going to DC to receive my what feels like a paperweight in this moment. The SBA has been incredibly supportive, by the way, through this in helping me figure out how to stay in business. They've been a huge support. But since I'm going to be in DC during Small Business Week, I plan to continue to use my voice and advocate for America's small businesses while I'm there.
I love it. Yeah, and congratulations. It's a big award. I was veteran-owned business of the year, I think, in Virginia a couple of times. And you were overall small business of the year, right? Not just veteran-owned, right?
Yeah.
That's really hard. For those who don't understand business world, getting that award in a state like Minnesota is huge. So congratulations. It's just a huge, well earned.
Yeah.
Well, Beth, I won't keep you. I know you've got to run off and do some more work. I mean, again, I wasn't kidding you guys. I can see what everybody's doing behind the camera before they come on, and she was like typing. So thanks for taking your time to join us as a fellow veteran. Congratulations on your success. We'll stay in touch. I'd love to hear how your progress goes and how you fight this. It'll be an interesting arc to see where things go. It seems like that the chatter about it has gone. I'm worried there's not enough chatter about it right now, but I guess maybe we can raise some noise. Maybe our viewers can raise some noise about this silliness.
And I know we don't have time, but the bigger problem about this is the mental health crisis that's going to start hitting our small business owners right now. I'm hearing from people left and right that this is a dark time for people who don't know what to do and are losing their businesses and closing doors.
And that is a huge thing. It's very hard to be a business owner. It's very hard to be a small business owner, to maintain the mental health has always been a challenge. And there has been, I saw a study, it's probably been 6-7 years, but there was a study done on small business suicide rates, and it's shocking. It will shock you to death. The entrepreneur life is very hard. And like you said, you have now placed your family's home against your business. and outside forces you have no control over. A president who is just running around like a chicken's head cut off could force you to lose everything you've built for your family. That's
I'm not going to
scary.
let it happen.
Yeah, it does seem like the kind of person you are, but it
No.
certainly is understandable. And so many of our peers in veteran circles are going to struggle and suffer. Again, we mentioned 9.1% of U.S. small businesses are owned by veterans. So you're not alone. I hope you're reaching out to others and finding strength in the others and the organizations.
Yeah.
So thanks, Beth. Where can people find you? Where can they find your organization, your company?
Yeah, I mean, busybaby.com, and we're Busy Baby Matt on all the socials. So
That's
if you
super
know
easy.
anybody with a baby, it's a great baby shower gift. It's pretty awesome.
Get them while they're hot. Get them while they're
Yeah.
still in stock right
Get 'em
now.
while they exist. Yeah, once they're gone, they're gone. Not a marketing tactic. It's true.
Yeah, they're really good stuff. I wouldn't say a fire sale, but
Yeah.
well, we appreciate you. Go to Busy Baby, find out, support veteran-owned businesses.
Fred.
Thanks for taking time with us, Beth. We really appreciate it. And good luck
Thank
out
you,
there.
sir.
Stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Will do.
I don't even know where to start with that. That's what we want to tell you, that the tariffs, while it's still in place, the Chinese tariffs, the people kind of stopped talking about the tariffs, oddly, but we're hearing a lot of these reports from veteran-owned businesses and other businesses. They simply don't have the cash flow. There's been a lot of focus in the stock market, a lot of focus, like a lot of people are saying, well, it's the largest middle-class tax increase in history. That is true. There will be a jump in prices. There will be a jump in cost for average Americans. But the thing is, a lot of businesses will never get to that point. There's a lot of small businesses like Beth's that will never get a chance to raise their prices because they can't even get their products out of China in the first place or wherever else they're being built. That is a huge problem. And it's not going away. And we're going to lose a lot of great American businesses and a lot of great Americans, especially service members and veterans and spouses. There's a huge entrepreneurship is a huge part of spouse employment overseas and everywhere. And so we want to highlight that issue of just how effective it is. Like so many issues, when we talk about them, what do you discover? You discover that they are touching veterans as well. When you hear a staggering number that 9.1% of all U.S. businesses are owned by our veterans, that says a lot, doesn't it? So having said that, in the meantime, join us every week right here, 1 o'clock, right here on the VoteVets channels. As mentioned, I am Fred Wellman, retired Army officer. I've seen some people talk about that. You do have to kind of have a laugh here for this, folks, because otherwise we're going to lose our minds. If you've ever been in combat, if you ever served in service, you'll know some of the darkest humor on earth is military members in combat, because what else can you do? So learn more about what we do at VoteVets at votevets.org. It's our website, votevets.org. There's 2 key buttons I always highlight. Take action is the button you can click on to join, find actions we're doing, maybe join us on fly-ins to Washington, D.C., the many things we do, keeping you informed about the activities, the candidates we support as well. And then number 2, the donate button, because I wouldn't be working for an organization that needed your donations if I didn't put it out there. We'd love for you to consider donating to VoteVets. We are doing a lot of hard work pushing back on this administration, pushing back on the outrageous laws, the dismantling of the VA, the dismantling of veterans health care, the attacks on our family members. There's a number of lawsuits we're participating in. Your donations kind of keep us going, and we really appreciate you guys being here. It's so good to see something like 2,000 of you here hanging out with us today. I appreciate you. Again, mark your calendar. We'll be here every Friday at 1 p.m. to meet and talk, have conversations, bring your questions if you have them, have more voices and diverse voices from the veteran and military community, talk about the issues that affect you. Finally, again, I am Fred Wellman. Thank you to our producer, JJ Jorgensen, and of course, all the folks at VoteVets, the staff that make this happen. We'll see you again right here next week.